Everybody out there that's watching this have seen videos of him in the 80s on Letterman, on Oprah. All this guy has ever said is, I love America. I love our country. Everybody's screwing us. China's screwing us. Everybody's screwing us. And now you're seeing what they're doing to him because he loves us.
Let me ask you.
So Donald Trump has been found guilty in historic New York hush money case. From NBC News, a New York jury on Thursday found Donald Trump guilty on all 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. For the first time, a former U.S. president has been convicted of a crime. The jury reached its verdict in the historic case after 9.5 hours of deliberations, which began on Wednesday. He'll be sentenced on July 11th, and that's 4 days before the Republican National Convention. He faces penalties from a fine to 4 years in prison on each count, although it's expected he could be sentenced for the offenses concurrently, not consecutively. So Chris Cuomo and Dave Smith are all set to debate tonight from 6 to 9 p.m. on the PBD podcast channel with Patrick Bet-David. And the only reason I mention it is because I'm looking forward to see if either Chris Cuomo or Dave Smith have changed their opinion about Donald Trump in light of his conviction yesterday. We learned in one of my last videos when Tim Pool explained how libertarians don't vote for Republicans the way that you might think. And with Dave Smith coming off of the failed Libertarian Party convention last week after they nominated a woke Democrat and also passed up Clint Russell to be their vice presidential candidate, who after the convention came out and said that he was going to vote for Trump this year. And in that light, I thought Tim Pool's analysis was spot on when he gave the details of what actually happened in the Trump conviction yesterday. So I want to go ahead and play that for you now.
Something important to add for everybody who's watching. We do not know what Trump was convicted of.
Right.
We know that there is a crime, falsifying business records. It is a misdemeanor, and it's beyond its statute of limitations. It can be, through extenuating circumstances, they can upgrade it to a felony if it was falsifying business records to conceal a secondary crime. We still do not know what that secondary crime is. There were 3 potential unlawful acts that may have occurred. The judge instructed the jury that of those 3, they do not need to be unanimous. It could be Trump falsified business records in an effort to falsify other business. I'm not kidding. Let me break this down. The judge's instructions were basically, if Trump falsified business records, and you all agree that he did, we need to then figure out what unlawful means he was covering up with it. You don't have to agree on that part. We can surmise then that all the jurors agreed Trump did falsify these records or direct someone to do it. But that's a misdemeanor. We do not know right now. It has not been revealed. It has not been discussed. It was not in the court case what secondary crime the jury believes Trump committed. Now, the options the judge gave the jury was 1, falsifying additional business records, 2, federal election violations, and 3, improper tax filings. I think it's fairly obvious that it is likely the jury chose federal election violation because the prosecution stated in their closing arguments, this is a federal election violation. That's a fact. And when it was objected, the judge said, shut up. This should never have been allowed. The judge did not allow expert testimony on whether or not it actually was a federal election violation. The prosecution just asserted it was in closing arguments, and the judge allowed this. But get this. The judge actually said in these instructions, and this is probably why the jury was confused, if you believe that Donald Trump, A, falsified business records for the to conceal a secondary crime, and that secondary crime was falsifying other business records, then vote guilty, and I'll consider that unanimous. So just to clarify again, some of these jurors may actually think, so Trump ordered Cohen to falsify these records so that he could cover up that he falsified other records. Effectively 2 misdemeanors that they're arguing when combined become a felony. It's an absurdity. And but in the end, we still do not know. Alvin Bragg held a press conference. No one asked. No, so we don't know how this became a felony at all.
And not only that, it's 34 felonies. Let me pause the video for a second and talk about the jurors. The prosecutors in this case have been afforded the luxury of being able to look at polling data from 2 presidential elections to see where they should try Donald Trump. They chose a district that voted heavily for Biden. And something you have to understand about the jurors at this point is that in the amount of time that they had to miss work, coincidentally matching up with the amount of time that this trial has gone on, sends a signal that is very obvious to me, to this person's co-workers, bosses, family, friends, and potentially neighbors, the majority of whom voted for Biden. So if these jurors let Trump off and don't convict, they have to go back to work and hope that their boss doesn't fire them, right? They gotta hope that their wife lets them sleep in bed that night. You know, how's that next family reunion? What do you think people are gonna treat you like whenever you go to Thanksgiving this year? All of those things that will make the important people in these jurors' lives potentially look at them differently. So regardless of evidence, these folks are being pressured outside of the courtroom as well, in my opinion. But let's continue with the video.
I want to make sure that this story is included in this segment so that in the event you end up sharing this segment with friends and family members, you can see this post from the New York Post. CNN's Fareed Zakaria admits prosecutors would never have filed hush money charges against anyone whose name was not Trump. And I'll play it for you.
Uniting behind Trump. Whatever opposition he faced in the primaries has largely melted away. And the trials against him keep him in the spotlight, infuriate his base, who sees him as a martyr, and even may serve to make him the object of some sympathy among people in general who believe that his prosecutors are politically motivated. This happens to be true, in my opinion. I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump.
CNN, MSNBC, many, and they're the more partisan outlets, have all been stating through this trial, it's confusing, it's unprecedented, we don't know what this is about, and CNN going as far as to say it is politically motivated and would not have been brought against anyone else. That's the message you need to share with your friends and family.
Now check out this clip from the Patrick Bet-David podcast.
Weird where I'm at with Trump right now. We know I wasn't a fan, but now I'm 100% out on Biden, and I've been subtly rooting for Trump. Like, meaning, like, come on, man, like, let's get this thing together. I'm so non-emotional about this that I'm actually just being completely logical about this. I have zero emotion. Again, I'm just following the numbers here, as our friend the BizDoc says. People talk, numbers scream, right? Numbers yell.
Words talk, numbers scream.
There it is. You know, I did an episode about 2 weeks ago when I had on people on Saucecast talking about the likelihood of Trump being convicted, not convicted. Here's Trump supporters. Here are the numbers. And this is where am I going with the election. I think this is enough to sway the election. I'm sure we'll talk about what the charges will be and look like and what the penalty will be. But 80% of Trump voters said they would still vote for him no matter what. 4% wouldn't. 4%. 16% said they would reconsider. So what's 4% of how many people voted for Trump last time? 75 million people. So how many millions is that?
3.2 million.
Okay, listen.
3 million.
Right, if you look at the national polls,
Yeah.
you know, Trump's up 2. If you look at the swing states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, he's up 5 to 7 points. Even if this is he doesn't go to jail. God forbid, I do not want to see Trump in jail, 100%. I think that's bullshit. I've talked about win the game on the field, not in the pregame. But if these numbers move just a little bit, boom, 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 all of a sudden that 2% is even. All of a sudden that 5% is now 2%. You're within the margin of error. We'll see what happens, but I think it's an overall very sad day for our country.
You guys know who Lady Justice is. Robbie, so Pat, this Lady Justice, this symbolizes fairness and the judicial system, and she's blindfolded because it's impartiality. All right, the scales are to balance weights, evidence to ensure fair judgments. The sword represents the power to enforce justice and the divisiveness of law, and she's a woman, embodies the virtue of moral integrity, and the robe is judicial authority. It reflects this so many of tradition and the legal system. That blindfold is off. She's finished, because this just shows you how everything that Trump said, the deep state, the people, by the way, The Department of Justice is done. The FBI is a joke. The judges are bought and paid for. Let me ask you a question. The Clintons, with everything that they've done, Bill and Hillary, how many charges and how many trials?
None.
Zero. Okay, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, documents, drugs, crack, guns. How many, PBD?
None.
Dr. Fauci, probably responsible for millions. Tom, how many? Bush Jr., Dick Cheney, everything that these people have done with all the deaths, with all the blood and all the stuff that they've done, this is what you're going to give the ex-president? 35 counts, and these people are happy in the street. It's a sad day, PBD, and I'm so happy that when he said, you know how we're going to do this? That's a fighter. He said on November 4th, that's how we're going to show them that we're still going to win. And that's it, because you said this today. The only other way, his character assassination, now they're going after his money. They've knocked those two out. They will stop at nothing to stop this guy because he's all for us. He's been saying it since day one, and I've seen videos, Pat. We've all seen this. Everybody out there that's watching this have seen videos of him in the 80s on Letterman, on Oprah. All this guy has ever said is, I love America. I love our country. Everybody's screwing us. China's screwing us. Everybody's screwing us. And now you're seeing what they're doing to him because he loves us.
Let me ask you.
This is from 1981,
Yep.
and I wanted to play this as to Vinny's point. If you listen back to Donald Trump in the 80s, he's being asked, why would you ever consider running for president?
Yep.
And it's very telling, his response.
And this is 81.
1981, he's 34 years old.
43 years ago.
Okay.
Why wouldn't someone like yourself run for political office? You have all the money that you possibly need. You've accomplished a great deal, even though you are only
What a
34.
boss.
I know there's a lot of things
He looks
that
like
you
Barron right
possibly
here.
can do in the years ahead. Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile.
Wow.
And that's a sad commentary
Gavin
on the
Newsom.
political process.
Television, in a strange way, has ruined that process, hasn't it?
It's hurt the process very much. I mean, the Abraham Lincolns of the world, Abraham Lincoln would probably not be electable today because of television. He was not a handsome man, and he did not smile.
So in conclusion, you guys, I just want to make two more points. One, from the Daily Mail here, Donald Trump gets a 6-point bump in approval after being found guilty on 34 counts according to the Snap Daily Mail poll. And additionally, as of 10:50 a.m. this morning, Trump raises $34.8 million after the guilty verdict. Here, let me just let Trump tell you about it himself.
And the Daily Mail just came out with a poll, and it has Trump up 6 points in the last 12 hours. 6 points. 6 points since this happened. Who thought this could happen? Because the people of our country know it's a hoax. They know it's a hoax. They get it. You know, they're really smart, and it's really something. So we're going to be appealing this scam. Now, let me give you the good news. The good news is, last night, we just got a report this morning, in the history of politics, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, somebody will find that I'm wrong, maybe, but I don't think so. They raised with small money donors, meaning like $21, $42, $53, $38, a record $39 million in about a 10-hour period. No, think of that. I like those people.
And if you like this content, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Ring that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.